Okay. So thank you, Maya. So first I will share the slides from my end and let me know like when you guys able to see it. Right. Give me a second. Right. So I just shared the screen. Like, can you guys able to see it? Or
Yes, we can see.
hello? Okay. Okay. Great. Right. So yeah. First of all, thank you for the IEEE Computer Society at UCSC to organizing this event. And yeah, uh, happy to be part of it. So let's start the slides. Right. So today's session is about the art and business of computer game development. Right. So as the title suggests, I just want to point out two different aspects of this industry. Right. So when it comes to computer game development, there is a side called art, and there is another side called business. Right. It's part of software engineering, but compared to the traditional software engineering, we value these two aspects as well when it comes to the computer game development, right? So you will get the idea like when we progress through these lines. Uh, Basically, that's the meaning of this title, right? Okay, so today what we are going to cover is like basically if I give you a outline, uh, basically I'm going to introduce like what is computer games are. Like I'm not going in detail, like you guys know about what is computer game is, but I'll give some generic idea about it. And then we are going to move on the video game industry, like how it take and place within the software engineering industry, like how it grows, how you can join it, things like that. And the game development life cycle, right? So if you're aware of the software engineering principles, like we have SDLC, software development life cycle. Similarly, when it comes to the computer game development, we have GDLC, game development life cycle, right? And then let's look at what is a game engine is about, right? So this is a very important term when it comes to game development. We'll see what game engine means, right? Uh, and I'm going to briefly introduce about Unreal Engine, right, which is one of the industry leading tool that we use at the industry to create computer games. Uh, and its features and use cases, like what are the available features and how you can get the optimal use out of it. Let's take a look at those aspects as well, right? And then in the latter part, we are going to discuss about how you can, if you are interested in the computer game development, like how you can be a part of it in the future or even right now. Uh, and I'm going to give a little bit of introduction about what LCR Games is about, right? So it's our own startup. Uh, and yeah, so those are the stuff that we are going to discuss within today's session, right? Okay, so I'm Dhanushka. I'm also graduate from UCSC. I did computer science back in the days. Also, when it comes to the industry experience, like I did my internship at WSO2 as a software engineer. And then later on, after I graduated, I joined with LSEG, again as a software engineer. Also, I have a startup called SR Games, which is a computer game development company. Okay. Okay. So you can actually find me on through my portfolio or LinkedIn, or some of you may know me on YouTube. Like there are some computer science tutorials there. Also, like I write some articles meantime, so you can find me on Medium as well. Okay. So let's start with the first topic. So computer games. Uh, so I believe like all of you has been experienced with computer games, and almost all of you has know this stuff from your childhood onwards, right? But the missing part could be the engineering behind it, right? How these games are constructed, how they going to sell to the global market, right? Like how they can earn money, right? There is a profit, right? And like there could be questions like, okay, if computer game development is a big thing, then why it's not that much popular in Sri Lanka, right? Uh, there could be so many questions, right? So today we are going to find the answers to some of those stuff, right? Okay. So considering the computer games, like uh, it's extremely popular and engaging industry, right? And the revenue generation is extremely high, right? And when I tell some of the numbers, like some of you may not even believe it, right? Because it's that much massive compared to the traditional software engineering industry. Also, like there are many genres and subgenres considering the computer games. Like there are like racing games, strategy games, combat games, things like that. And the other important thing is like we have a large audience, right? So from starting from the kids to uh, elders, we have a large amount of global audience, right? Plus, it's not only restricted to Sri Lanka or any other continent; it's worldwide, right? And the other thing is you have to be unique or creative or artistic when you are creating computer games, right? So it's not like creating some I don't know, some package and just release it. It's not like that. You have to be creative, right? Okay. So the best-selling game currently is Minecraft. Actually, this game was initially created by a single guy, and later on he started a studio, and then several engineers joined and developed the game. But initially, this was a uh, indie game developed by a single person, right? And the global revenue currently is up to 700 million USD, and they have sold around 350 million units worldwide, right? And the second best-selling games, according to the critics or the reviews or the statistics, is GTA 5. Uh, so this was developed by Rockstar Games, and the global revenue is close to 10 billion US dollars around the world. Even right now, this game is selling. Right? This was, I think, initially released in early, I'm not quite sure, but maybe let's say 2013 or something like that. But still, the game is selling. And still, they make the revenue. Um, Plus, this was developed their own engine called Rage, Rockstar Advanced Gaming Engine, uh, which is again another popular game. And we have another game called Fortnite. Most of you may have heard of this game. It's an online multiplayer game developed by Epic Games, and the game engine that they use is Unreal Engine, right? So obviously, of course, like Unreal Engine is owned by Epic Games. It is their engine, and they release it freely to the outside indie developers, right? So anyway, this Fortnite was also developed using Unreal Engine, right? So I'm now mentioning this word game engine, right? Maybe you not get the idea right now, but when we progress to the slides, you will get what it means. Okay. Okay. So that's the bit of the statistics about the video game industry. Uh, and some of the examples, some of the leading examples within the industry, and some of the numbers like the revenue and stuff. Right? Now we have like a very common question that we can ask, uh, like how big is gaming within the industry, entertainment industry, that you guys think? Right? Or in other words, we can ask like, what is the biggest entertainment industry in the world right now? Is it cinema? Right? We have like many movies around the world, right? Or is it books? Is it music? We have a lot of bands, a lot of international artists. Or is it sports? We have FIFA, we have uh, F1, we have Olympic, right? What do you think the biggest entertainment industry in the world? Any answers? Right. So the biggest entertainment industry world in the world is computer games. Right? I don't know how many of you believe this or not, but just Google and see, right? Uh, Video game industry is the biggest entertainment industry in the world right now, right? So I hope you can get some idea like how much massive the industry is, right? There could be like a movie, right? Or there could be like a dedicated sport event, which surpass the entertainment industry or which capitalize the entertainment industry. But it is not. The video games is the lead that leads the entire entertainment industry, right? And I know now you may wonder like how it becomes such a global lead, right? And if it is such a massive industry, then why it's not popular in Sri Lanka, right? Why many engineers are not in Sri Lanka, okay? In Sri Lanka, why many talented engineers are not going to the video game industry? Hmm? So these questions may come up to your mind, right? We will see why is that. Right. So this is one of the Reddit posts that I've seen on social media lately. Uh, so you may know about this game called Grand Theft Auto widely known as GTA. So the Rockstar Games actually going to release the GTA 6 uh, in future. Actually, it was going to be released on the end of this year, but somehow they delayed their release, and now it's going to be released on the next year. So anyway, uh, so according to their statistics or their reports, uh, the development cost of GTA 6 is larger than the construction cost of Burj Khalifa. Right? Again, I don't know how many of you believe this or not. This is not a meme or this is not a joke. This is the actual statistics, right? Uh, so they spend around 2 billion US dollars just to create this game, right? It is a software, it's a computer game, 2 billion US dollars, right? Larger than the construction cost of Burj Khalifa. So I hope you can imagine like how much massive the computer game industry is, right? And remember, these are very complex software, right? These are not like uh, web development, or these are not like, uh, I don't know, like creating some foundational AI model, something like that. Those are like repetitive, right? You can do that quite easily right now in the days. But compared to the computer game developments, it's a very complex process, right? It's a repetitive process. It can be done, but compared to the other engineering fields in the software industry, this is a highly complicated field, right? We'll see why. Okay. Okay. So the next obvious question is like, how they earn such large amount of money, hmm? Or like how they have this amount of money to spend to just to create a computer game, right? You may wonder like, okay, this is just a computer game, right? This is going to be played by some kids or some adults around the world. So why they spend like billions of US dollars, right? Or how they even earn the revenue out of it, right? Because more they spend, more they have to earn. Otherwise, there is no profit. The companies go bankrupt. But it's not the scenario, right? Uh, So how they earn such large amount of money? That's the second obvious question. Right. So there are many ways these computer game companies or even indie game developers who the ways to earn money. Uh, so obvious revenue generation stream is the game sales, right? So either you can sell physical copies or digital copies. Okay? Physical copies like they comes in uh, Blu-ray or like compact disc format, and the digital copies are actually like actual digital copies, actual release binaries to the online stores such as Steam, Epic Game Store, things like that. Right? So through these physical or online stores, people can purchase the games. So ultimately, the revenue will be generated at the developer's side, right? And the second income stream is in-game purchases, right? Which means you can perform set of microtransactions within the game, right? So you release the game, either a paid level or the free-to-play level. Somehow you release the game, and once the clients actually join with the game and try to play it, you can perform set of microtransactions through this game, such as it could be like buying a weapon, or it could be like buying a skin, something like that. So these sort of very small transactions actually overall generate a very large amount of revenue at the developer side. Right? This is another way of income stream. And we have DLCs, which is downloadable content. This is sort of like extending the existing features of the base game, right? For example, like let's say, uh, take a game like Assassin's Creed. So they have like a what do you call their base campaign franchise, and once you finish the franchise or whatever, now the game is finished. There's nothing to do. But still, the developers can release some DLCs, some additional content, some uh, extended features to the game, right? It could be a storyline, or it could be like a different level, or it could be like a different character, something like that. So the players who love to play the game, who love to explore more, they can buy these downloadable contents. They can extend the existing game. They can play it, right? Another income stream. So you can see like now the things are getting complex, right? Traditional software, usually you don't see this stuff. In some aspect, yes, they have these features, but I just want to show you how the things are getting more and more complex, how the things are getting more and more constructed to earn revenue. Right. And then obviously we have sponsorships and esports events. If you know, like there is a popular game called League of Legends, which is quite popular. Uh, and they host these sort of events around the world. So they like spend multi-million dollars to organize this event, and similarly, they will earn 10x larger than that. Right? So compared to the traditional sports, the only difference is like here the players are playing with the computer, right? They are not actually physically engaging with any sort of material. Instead, they are playing computer games, right? Other than that, the audience and stadium and all the promotions and advertisement, all those stuffs are exact same as the any other sport event, right? Only a digital format, right? Right. So those are some of the ways actually they earn revenue, they generate revenue. Uh, and actually those income streams are really successful, right? They can make multi-million dollar profit. Right. Now we are coming to the video game industry. Considering the international market and local market, we'll see what are the competitors and companies that we have, right? So considering the international companies, I don't even need to say some of these names. You may heard these names. So we have Rockstar Games, Ubisoft, CD Projekt Red, Square Enix. Those are like very popular companies around the world, computer game development companies around the world. So they have released like big titles like Far Cry, GTA, Assassin's Creed, Cyberpunk, things like that, right? So these are quite successful games, at the same time complex, right? Uh, I don't know like whether you see the complexity behind this stuff because it is hidden, right? All you see is all or any other general client sees a nice character or nice map that visualize on the your screen, and you can interact with the keyboard and mouse. But inside, internally, there are a lot of complex processing is being happen, right? Lot of algorithms, lot of computation is going to be happen, right? So since you guys are computer science students, uh, my focus is to showcase those stuff to you, right? Because you guys can understand it, right? Uh, and the next motive is this one, right? Uh, what are the local companies that we currently have in Sri Lanka which develop computer games? So actually, there are some titles has been released in the local market, like the Kancha, the Nero. I think these games are created some of the engineers at Arimac. But as far as I know, currently the Arimac is not quite operative in computer game development because some of their internals are now not operative because of some of the internal politics. Uh, and now that part is sort of getting faded, right? One of the leading company in Sri Lanka which develops computer games, as we know. Yeah. And now another company is getting popular, which is Mogo Games. I think they haven't released a major title yet, but still they are sort of like engaging with the industry, right? And we have Ram Studios, which develops Extraction Valley, which is online multiplayer game, which did well. Uh, and in our side, actually, we initiated the game development company around 2022, uh, which is called Elsia Games. It was founded by me. And we are sort of like in the business as well, right? But anyway, the point is, compared to the global market, in the local context, we have a very low amount of competitors. We have very small amount of players in the industry, right? We'll see why, right? And the currently is actually the trend is AI, machine learning. I understand. Those are great tools. Those are great technologies, obviously. Those should be trended. Those are very interesting. And many companies or many undergraduates, even graduates, even the industry people are focusing on the AI and ML these days. Again, good, nice. But I don't see actually any significant contribution towards the computer game development industry yet in Sri Lanka, right? So there are a lot of talented engineers uh, which has a great potential that they can contribute to this industry, which they can earn maybe millions of dollars in future. I don't know, but still they are chasing that generic uh, trend, right? So time to time we have different trends actually. Like back in the days, we have embedded system trend. Then we had cloud technology trend. Then we had then we have like this AI trend, right? So almost everyone is focusing on that field, right? Everyone, even most of the research are going to happen on that field, right? Or even most of the undergraduates are focusing, follow their career on that field, right? Uh, but things going to change in near future. Maybe I will tell you some of those topics in later on. I'm not going to focus on the AI specifically because this is not targeting that. But anyway, the point is there are so many things that you can do in the computer science domain, especially computer games. Right? This is comes under computer graphics, but in general, as industry, it's computer games, right? Uh, so as computer science students, you can contribute to this industry, right? Maybe even you can start your own company. Who knows? So my goal is in today's session to show you those potential and give you some motivation or insight about this industry, right? Because many people actually doesn't know about this stuff. That's the issue, right? Otherwise, we have very talented engineers, but they have very lack of knowledge, right? Okay, so this is the GDLC, right? So I'm not going in many detail about these sort of diagrams, right? So many of you are actually tired with your academics by looking at these sort of diagrams. But anyway, uh, just keep in mind that similar to the traditional software engineering, we have a system called GDLC to develop computer games, right? Uh, it's not entirely different from SDLC, right? Because again, computer games is a software. It's a highly complicated software. Uh, eh, there also we follow a thing called game development life cycle, right? So we have like the story design, conceptual analysis, concept design, things like that, right? So those are like sort of artistic aspects that you embed to software, and ultimately it will be like an entertainment product, something like that, right? So considering the job roles that we available within the industry, we have many job roles, right? So currently, like you guys are interested in becoming a software engineer, or maybe becoming a QA, maybe you're becoming a business analyst, maybe a data scientist, maybe a AI engineer, which is fine, which is great. Um, but compared to those job roles in computer game development, we have many other fields. Okay? Obviously, we have those fields as well because this is software engineering industry. But additionally to those generic roles, we have like specialized roles dedicated to specific domains. So, for example, we have gameplay programmers. We have like 3D artists, right? Who models different 3D models or maybe 2D arts, something like that. We have game testers, right? So game testers are like very interesting job to do, right? Because all you have to do is play games, right? It is not exactly fun like that. You are sort of big, sort of a QA engineer, but still, right? So likewise, there are many different job roles, right? And how many of the computer science students actually focus in those roles? That's another concern, right? Uh, there's a reason these roles are not that much popular in CS graduates. Uh, we'll see why. Okay. Okay. So you may have heard this term that I mentioned multiple times, game engine, right? What is this game engine? What is this engine means? Why we need a game engine to build computer games, right? So these can be like some of the generic questions that you have currently on your mind. Um, so it's something like this. Game engine is sort of like a development environment to build or create computer games, right? For example, let's say if we are developing a website, right? Then we need tools like maybe we need a IDE, Visual Studio Code, IntelliJ. Then we need some sort of a framework to start our website building, right? Maybe like JavaScript or maybe Go or maybe uh, servlets, something like that, right? And then ultimately we are going to build it, right? So there should be like build pipelines. It could be Maven, it could be Jenkins, something like that. Then there should be deployment infrastructures, right? Could be Docker, could be Kubernetes, could be a dedicated virtual machine, something like that. So likewise, uh, compared to the considering the web development, we have this framework, we have this environment that developers need to be familiar with, right? Similarly, when it comes to the game development, we need the IDE, we need the environment, we need the build pipelines, we need development pipelines, we need deployment infrastructures. So all of those stuff can be centralized to a one system, and that can be called as a game engine, right? So basically, game engine is used to create computer games and build computer games, right? Um, So obviously this has IDEs, right? Because obviously you have to program it. But additional to the IDE, you need multiple different tools, right? For example, you need a graphic rendering engine, right? Because it needs to be able to compute the computer graphics, related vectors, and other stuff. Then you need a physics engine, right? Which means you have to maybe simulate the real world simulation, or maybe like any sort of alien simulation, something like that. Then there should be AI capabilities, right? Actually, before this AI boom started in the uh, early 20s, the computer game development industry was extremely focused on the AI, right? I don't know like how many of you are aware of these stuff, but they were in that lead, right? Uh, so obviously, you need to be aware of some AI features as well. Then there should be sound engine, right? Because it may emit some sound, it may emit some audio, something like that. So in order to handle those stuff, in order to design those stuff, in order to control those stuff, there should be a sound engine. So likewise, you can see there are multiple different systems that should be synced together to create computer game, right? So that's why I told you this is a sort of a complicated process, right? Just because of you know programming, it doesn't mean you can create a computer game, right? You have to be aware of multiple different aspects, right? So by combining all of those features, they created game engine as a development environment, right? So that's the development side. And how about the deployment part, right? Because ultimately, once you develop the computer games, you have to release it, no? Right? Otherwise, how is the client going to play it? So when you're releasing a game, again, it's a complicated process, right? Why? Because we have multiple different platforms that should compatible your game. So we have, obviously, we have PC, right? That runs maybe Windows, maybe Mac OS, maybe Linux. So we have that PC or computer platform. So how are you going to build your game that support Windows, right? Because that's a different binary. Then how are you going to build your game that support to Linux? How are you going to build your game that support to Mac OS, right? And that's the one part, okay? Now imagine we have multiple different platforms, not only computers. We have PlayStation, we have Xbox, maybe we have WebGL supported web platforms. Maybe we have TVs that supports computer games. Maybe we have Android platforms, mobile platforms that supports games. Maybe we have Nintendo Switches, right? So the list goes on. So the question is, how you build your game that support to all of these platforms? It's not a one binary, it's not a one build, because all of those platforms are different. The compatibilities of those platforms are different, capabilities of those platforms are different. So how you are going to build multiple different builds, but ultimately it's a one game, right? So the answer is those are multiple different build pipelines, right? So for make a build for Windows, there is a dedicated pipeline that integrate all of those link libraries, utilities, and stuff like that. To build a game for PlayStation, it's another different pipeline. So likewise, based on the platform, we have multiple different build pipelines. So obviously, uh, engineers can't uh, specifically or like spend their time to implement those pipelines. Instead, what we can do is we can generalize those pipelines to a one single place so that that specific software can do the task for us, right? Sort of like build pipeline generalization, right? So game engine is able to do that, right? So once you create a computer game, by selecting a dedicated pipeline, you can build the native build for that, right? So that you don't need to actually create the same game for multiple different platforms and build differently, right? You develop your computer game in a one place and you build the binaries that support for multiple different platforms, right? So that's the deployment side. So anyway, now I think you can understand Now things are getting complex, right? Compared to the traditional software engineering, right? So in the industry, like we have multiple different game engines that are popular among the developers. So we have Unity, Unreal Engine, Godot, right? So these are some of the leading uh, open source engines. I'm not quite sure the Unity is open source engine, but Unreal Engine and Godot are open source engines, right? Which are really popular and powerful. So Unity is usually very popular among the mobile game developers, and Unreal Engine is sort of popular among the PC game developers. But anyway, those are some of the engines. So within the today's session, I'm going to introduce Unreal Engine, and we'll see its features and capabilities, right? Because you can use Unreal Engine to create computer games, right? Uh, yeah, and yeah, we'll see how. So Unreal Engine, what is Unreal Engine? Uh, right. So there are some questions is being posted. I will answer those stuff at the later part, right? So if you guys have any questions, just drop those to the chat. We'll go through them one by one. Okay, right. Um, so Unreal Engine is a game development tool that used to develop computer games. So we have Unreal Engine 4 and 5 currently, uh, and those are like extremely popular tools, right? So this is the point that I mentioned earlier. So you can use Unreal Engine to build your computer game to multiple different platforms, right? So you don't need to create the same copies for the uh, multiple different platforms. Instead, you create a one game and build it simultaneously to multiple different platforms, right? And Unreal Engine is written from C++, right, which is highly optimized, sort of like a close to hardware level language, uh, which is entirely written from C++, right? Right. So considering the requirements, we have Unreal Engine 4 and we have Unreal Engine 5. Uh, so Unreal Engine 5 was actually released recently, uh, but it is extremely powerful, right? Uh, so I sort of like raised this question, why computer game development is not that much popular among the Sri Lanka in local context, right? Or why it's not that much popular among the uh, computer science undergraduates? That could be another question. One of the reasons could be this hardware compatibilities, right? Because in order to create the computer games, uh, in general scenario, you need to have a good hardware, right? Uh, I'm not saying like if you have a generic hardware, you can't build the computer games. You can build it. Obviously, you can do that. But going to the global market, right? Or when you are focusing the enterprise level computer game development, then you need a better hardware, right? So currently in the local context, maybe the developers doesn't have this capability in general scenarios, right? Uh, but this is like a very naive way of answering that question, right? One of the reasons could be hardware compatibility issues. Why this computer game development is that much popular, not that much popular within the local uh, context, right? So if you are using Unreal Engine, then you should have sort of like a adequate hardware, right? So that's what I wanted to mention here, right? Um, so now let's see what are the available features in the Unreal Engine. And one other thing I want to mention is like Unreal Engine is entirely free, right? It's not like a proprietary software like Microsoft Office or Photoshop or something like that. This is a software that is completely free, right? You don't need to pay anything. You don't need to buy any subscription. You don't need to purchase any license, things like that. You can simply download the engine and start developing computer games. Simple as that. And the other interesting point is this is the leading game engine to develop computer games in the international, in the entire globe actually, right? Even the AAA games are developed using Unreal Engine, right? And many upcoming games are going to be developed using Unreal Engine 5 as well, right? I don't know whether you are familiar with the latest uh, uh, computer games. So like there's going to be released Witcher 4, entirely developed using Unreal Engine 5. There's going to be released the next franchise of the Halo, next release of the Halo franchise, developed using Unreal Engine 5. Likewise, there are major titles that are slowly moving towards the Unreal Engine as well. Plus, there are like very big titles developed using Unreal Engine, right? Again, I'm pointing, this is entirely free, right? So if you have the Unreal Engine right now, which means you can build the computer games. Simple as that, right? But you can't. Why? Because you doesn't have the knowledge. You don't aware of these tools. You don't aware the features, right? Simple as that. So this could be another reason why computer game development is not that much popular in Sri Lanka, right? So my goal is to showcase these features or to introduce these tools for you guys so you can explore it and you can see the capabilities of it, because it's entirely free, right? All of these features, all of these engine, all of these tools, all of those tutorials, resources, everything is free. But people are still not developing computer games in Sri Lanka, right? There are some people develop computer games, but I'm targeting the global audience, right? How you can develop a triple A quality game that sort of generate a very high income, right? Uh, so anyway, so let's see what are those free features in Unreal Engine that are available, right? Yeah, so obviously we have a world building feature. So in the Unreal Engine, actually, you can build whatever the level that you want, right? So go with your wildest imagination. You can build those levels in your game. And it's sort of simple, right? All you have to do is drag and drop the instances and, organize the levels and things like that, right? So that world building capability is there, entirely free. And you have to like model the terrain, like some sort of a map, some sort of island, maybe some roads, maybe some landmarks, things like that. So within the engine itself, you can build any sort of levels, any sort of island, something like that, right? So those landscape and terrain tools are there. Then this is another interesting feature, which is world partition, right? So what is this world partition? Well, if you're developing a very large computer game which has a massive level, massive map, then at the runtime, what happens is like it's not going to load the entire level at once. It's not like that. What happens is it chunk the level to small partitions and render those partitions or load those partitions one by one at runtime, right? Based on the player location actually, right? Otherwise, if you going to render the entire level at once, then your computing resources may not be enough, right? Or like the performance will not be good. And obviously, in the other hand, like actually, like you don't need to render the entire level because at a given time, a player is going to be in a one place, no? Right? So considering those optimizations, considering those resource restrictions, uh, massive levels are not going to load at once. Instead, they are going to load chunk by chunk. So this feature is known as world partition, right? So obviously, if you're going to manually code this world partition, it's a very complicated process, right? You have to apply all of those multiple different optimization techniques and stuff like that, which is complicated process. But instead, what you can do is you can simply use the existing feature that is provided by Unreal Engine, right? So you can focus on developing your computer game instead of resolving the general computer science problems, right? Uh, so Unreal Engine actually give those capabilities for the developers, so developers can simply use it instead of redefining the wheel again and again, right? Right. And this is another thing, the sky, cloud, environment lighting, right? So any sort of a general game, you can see these stuff, right? But if you're going to create those stuff manually by yourself, it is time consuming, right? It is extremely complicated process, right? So if you spend your entire time to that specific feature, then obviously you may not be able to release your game on time, right? So Unreal Engine, what it does is it provides the features like this, right? So for example, let's say if you need to create a level that has, I don't know, like a very gloomy sky, then all you have to do is configure the parameters and enable the feature. That's it. There is a sky, right? And how about water, right? So I know like these are very general thing that you see on computer games. I know this stuff. But the question is the engineering behind it. How this stuff has been simulated, how this stuff has been created, right? Water, for example. How do you think water is going to be created on computer games? Because obviously, like water is a very complex mathematical phenomenon that we have in physical world, right? It's a sort of like a synchronization of uh, waves, or like uh, even at the atomic level, it's a synchronization. So obviously, within the computing environment, we can't compute all of those computations by ourselves. So we have to sort of simulate it. Okay? So we have to sort of hide that complexity, and we have to sort of simulate the water system instead of rendering the exact water. So this is a very complicated process. This is a sort of like a complicated mathematical question that we have. How you can simulate the water body? Well, it's involves set of mathematical stuff which are not directly uh, sensible for the game developers themselves. So what Unreal Engine does is, again, it gives this water body as a feature, right? So for example, if you need to implement water in your level, then you don't need to uh, code it entirely by yourself. You can simply drag and drop the water feature, and there you go. The water will be there in your level, right? So that feature is also available in Unreal Engine. And right, so these are some of the terms actually. So we have nanite virtualized geometry. So this is like how we render the game on runtime. So how do you think a game going to be rendered on runtime? Do you think like all those characters, all those vehicles, buildings going to be rendered at once? And what is rendering means, right? Uh, Actually, it's again a complicated process. It's again mathematics, nothing new, right? Uh, so all of those pixels, all of those elements that you see in computer games should be rendered by the computer, right? Those are not like images. Even the image should be rendered, right? It's a mathematical function. There is a mathematical function to render image. Likewise, how about a computer game? The dynamic actors, how it's going to be rendered? Well, that computation is also a complex thing, right? Because each of these vectors, each of these uh, geometries should be rendered at runtime, right? And as the players, we are not aware of it, right? Because our human mind is not uh, sensible for those computations, right? We only see the visualizations, but overall, in order to provide the visualization, there are multiple different mathematical stuff happen at the runtime, right? Because this is a simulated environment, right? So imagine you can see some real world from your eyes, right? And you may think, okay, this is there, that's real. And similarly, you will see something on the computer, which is a computer game or simulated environment, which is exact same reality, but it is constructed by mathematics, right? By applying multiple different algorithms, right? So maybe, who knows, even the reality is constructed, right? Anyway, so uh, all of those small details should be rendered at runtime, and Unreal Engine provide those features for you, right? So you don't need to worry about those mathematical stuff. You can simply use those features. And the Lumen Global Illumination, this is a very popular tool these days, because there is a concept called ray tracing, right? Which means actually you can simulate sort of like a realistic light in your game. So Lumen Global Illumination is also available on the Unreal Engine, right? So if you need to implement sort of like a real world lighting system, uh, then there you go. You can simply reuse the feature, right? And Meta Human Creator also newly released feature at the Unreal Engine, which means you can create any sort of humanoid characters in your game, right? So go with your wildest imagination, you can create that human character. Even there is a feature that you can replicate your entire yourself to the computer game, right? Using those some of the mocap stuff and all. You can construct the digital copy of the game of yourself, right? Or even any sort of a human, right? So these are not sci-fi anymore, right? We are at that level, right? And this is another important thing, machine learning deformer, right? Um, so back in the days, we had a question how you can make realistic humanoid characters. Uh, so one of the features that we can add is our muscle mass, right? Because we are humans by ourselves, but at overall how our body is constructed, our skeleton is there, and skeleton is wrapped within sort of muscles and all. So the movement of these muscles overall simulate our body or body functionalities. So how we can simulate within computing environment, right? This is a question that we had years ago, but now it's simply a feature. We have these machine learning capabilities and all. So now people has been successfully simulated muscle mass on the computing environment. So within the Unreal Engine, you can simulate the muscle mass right now, right? So again, this is a feature, freely available feature, right? And obviously you can animate the characters because you are not going to create a idle game. So those characters should be animated. So the animation features are within the engine itself, right? So you don't need to use any other animation tool or any other uh, different software. Using the Unreal Engine itself, you can animate your game, right? So obviously you can create the cinematics as well, maybe like cutscenes, I don't know, some dialogue scenarios, something like that. You can create these cinematic sequences within the engine, right? And the Niagara effects and visual effects that you see in computer games, you can create those stuff as well. How about the physics, right? Or the distractions? Again, this is a highly complicated process, right? Because all of those distractions should be computed at runtime, right? You can't like pre-record the distraction and play it on the computer game. It's not like that. Based on the player interaction, it will dynamically do that distraction at itself by using physical bodies. So to accommodate with those features, again, Unreal Engine provide those capabilities for you, for the developers. Again, I'm mentioning entirely free, right? And how about hair simulation? I think many of you may know about the hair simulation problem, right? This is one of the fundamental question we have in computer science, right? Maybe you have heard this stuff from the data structures and algorithms, maybe time complexity sections and all. This is a highly complicated process. Just think about a single hair strain and think about how you can simulate it, right? It's a highly complicated process. And that's a single hair strain, okay? Now think about the entire hair groom, how you can do that, right? It's a very complicated process. So obviously you can't render each strain one by one, right? So you have to come up with sort of like a simulation, sort of like a generalized, simplified functionality, right? So those simulations, those hair simulations, per simulation, things like that, provided by the Unreal Engine, right? Okay, so now we are moving to the generic stuff that you guys are aware of, scripting, the programming stuff. So obviously within the Unreal Engine, you can code using C++, which is the native code layer. And there is a visual scripting layer called Blueprint Visual Scripting, right? So this is like something like this. If you doesn't know about C++ derivatives natively, then you can sort of collect the logics as visual format and construct the behavior and underline the engine. It will generate the C++ code for you and perform the action, something like that. Okay. Now don't think this is not programming, right? I know many people think visual scripting is not programming, which is entirely false, right? Just think about what is programming. Programming is not about writing thousands of lines, right? Programming is not about knowing Java, C++, or like mastering the trending programming language these days. It's not like that. Programming is never about syntaxes, never about the language. Programming is about the way you think, the way you approach a problem, and the way you come up with a solution. That's the programming. That's the engineering part, right? So if you can even solve or model a problem or solve a solution for a given problem, even by using a pen and paper, you can write it or you can maybe draw it. That's programming. Simple as that, right? Visual scripting is something similar to that. You simply combine the logics together to construct the solution, overall solution for your problem, right? This is programming, right? So you have to be aware of this stuff actually. Many people think like open up 3 different IDEs with big monitors and writing multiple different lines to IDE is about programming. No, it's not the programming. Right? The way you think is the programming, and the way you engineer the solution is the program. Right? So anyway, those capabilities provided by the Unreal Engine. Plus, these days, another scripting is trending, which is verse. So this is somewhat intermediary between native C++ coding and Blueprint Visual Scripting coding. This is like you simply prompting using very generic English terms, right? Sort of like you mention something to ChatGPT or something, some sort of a AI tool to build something like that. So similarly, we have now a new programming phenomena called verse. You can specify those prompts at your level, and those prompt is going to submit to sort of a cloud, and that cloud will compute the solution for you and give the result back, so that the game will be or the game behavior will be implemented, right? So this is another way of computing or programming, right? Now you have to be aware of this stuff as well, right? Because the industry is going to be changed. Actually, it is changing, right? Whatever you learn at the academics right now may potentially may not be the stuff that you use at the industry once you graduated, right? Even as people who are working at the industry, now we are facing those stuff as well. Okay? Yeah, I'll point those stuff in the later. We'll see, right? So overall, these are some of the metrics that we can compare in between C++, Blueprint, and VS Code. So anyway, whatever you are comfortable with, you can use to program your game within the Unreal Engine. Right? So I just wanted to point you that your programming skills are not binded to a programming language. Right? If you can think, that's it. That's the requirement. You can use the features provided by the engines. You can build your game. Right. Also, in computer games, we have AI. Right. Even the AI boom is going to be started. Is started. People were interested about this AI stuff. The people who worked on the game development industry. So we have like very complex and very sophisticated AI capabilities within the industry, right? So obviously, all of those features are freely available at Unreal Engine. So you can use those features to develop your NPCs. And nowadays, actually, we have like LLM models, large language models, that actually simulate sort of like a way of thinking of a human mind, sort of like a digital brain. Um, so those are like LLM models. You guys know about this stuff more than I do actually. So now there is a feature where you can integrate those LLMs to your computer games, right? So what will happen? All of those NPCs that spawn on the game are unique, right? So when I play the game in my computer, I have dedicated NPCs who are uh, behaving the way I want, right? Who are sort of close to me, right? And when someone is playing a computer game, the same game, he or she has the NPCs spawned in the level, but they are tailor-made to that specific player, right? So all of us have a unique experience, right? Same game, same story, same gameplay mechanics, but a unique experience, right? But there are issues actually, like once you given this freedom to the NPCs, they can behave in a very destructive way actually. So currently the major game titles are not integrating this feature because of we have set of rules and regulations that mediate this AI security and stuff. Uh, so currently we don't have that unique experience, but features are there. Features are there. You can integrate it and you can test it, but you can't actually publicly release those stuff because of the rules, right? Because the rules are even still constructing when it comes to this AI domain. Uh, it's very dangerous in a way, but yeah, I just want to point out all of those trending AI capabilities we can integrate with the Unreal Engine, and it is there actually, right? So these are some of the use cases, right? Not only ChatGPT, not only Gemini, not only uh, what do you call those image or video generation tools. Those are like general tools, right? Where everybody uses, right? Even kids in these days just do vibe coding and get familiar with ChatGPT and all. But these stuff are unique, right? The creating the digital humans or creating the digital characters who can think, who can behave like individuals, right? Within a digital environment, right? So those stuffs are there, right? Now, addition to the computer game development, Unreal Engine can be used to virtual productions as well. So all of those stuff that you see on news or maybe like other entertainment uh, media, those backgrounds, those visualizations are most of the time created using Unreal Engine,
right? Those are like simulated environments. And also, I think I'm going run out of time, so I have to go quickly. Uh, so, Tomorrowland, also one of the global entertainment uh, industry in the world right now. And at the COVID year, the 2020, they couldn't do their festival physically, obviously because of the medical restrictions. So what they have been done was they used Unreal Engine to simulate their concert, right? So they performed their entire concert using this virtual production features, right? So you can see like even the big entertainment industries are using Unreal Engine, right? It's not only for game development. Uh, it can be used for the other entertainment medias as well. And also you may have seen this TV series Game of Thrones developed using Unreal Engine, right? And many other movies and TV shows are developed using Unreal Engine actually, right? But the global audience is doesn't aware of this stuff because global audience is only aware of the characters and actors, storyline and all, right? But as engineers, we know the tools, right? The tech behind it, right? Uh, so there you go, Unreal Engine. And there are like K-pop group even operated using digital humans using Unreal Engine, right? So I just wanted to show you like addition to the computer games, all the other required, all the other entertainment industries are using Unreal Engine, right? It's that much massive tool, right? Also like the Star Wars and all those movies, again, simulated using Unreal Engine, right? Okay. So I'll go very briefly about this topic. So how you can be part of video game industry, right? So first of all, you have to find your passion and find your role, right? Because computer game development is not for everyone, right? First, you have to love computer games. You have to enjoy the media so that you can be part of it as an engineer, right? So as I said before, like there are many roles and you can be part of either of them. So obviously, you guys are computer science students. There is a very big opportunity for you guys. And joining to the game development industry, obviously you have to build your skills and portfolio, right? Uh, Actually, this is not only restricted to the game development. Even when you are joining with any other software engineering industry, you have to build your own skills, right? Don't think once you graduated, someone will come to your university and give a job to you. It's not like that, right? You can be a first class in your batch. Uh, you may even become a batch top, but it doesn't guarantee that you will get a job, right? Just the academic quality. I'm not saying academic doesn't matter. Academic obviously matters, but same time you should have skills. You should have your own portfolio to market yourself, right? Otherwise, uh, industry is not giving opportunity for anyone, right? So don't blame to AI, don't blame to the industry, right? You have to build yourself, right? Okay. Uh, Even for the computer games, same rule apply, right? You have to showcase your capabilities. You have to market yourself. And you have to network and join the game development communities, right? So even having these sort of sessions is helpful, right? Because now you have sort of an idea about how these games are developed, what are the tools and what are the features and what are the real world examples, right? Now you know this stuff, and this is just a one session, right? So likewise, you have to uh, network with the industry people and you have to understand the domain, right? It's really important. Also, you can do internships, freelance works at game development companies or any other opportunities to gain some experience or hands-on experience. Or even actually you can create your own games, right? That's entirely possible. Many resources are there. I will tell those resources later on. But yeah, gain hands-on experience. And stay curious and keep learning, right? You have to learn uh, continuously to get familiar with the industry. And the formal education is also matters, right? To get some theoretical understanding behind those concepts. In UCSC, I think we have computer game development course module. So it's really helpful for whoever interested in game development. And we have computer graphics course modules, again, really important. So you can have sort of formal education to get familiar with those uh, techniques, right? Okay, so now we come to the end of the session. So I will give you a brief introduction about our own startup, which is LCR Games. So obviously, it's a game development company. So we develop computer games and we have released multiple titles as well. But additionally to the game development company, we are an enterprise level integration provider, right? Actually, this is our main revenue generation stream. So what we do is basically, uh, instead of only developing computer games, we develop these subsystems or plugins by ourselves and we release those stuff so that developers can buy those features or systems and they can integrate those stuff to their games to accelerate their game development, right? For example, like let's say the minimap. So minimap or world map is a dedicated subsystem. So what we do is we create those systems for us and we release those as features so that game developers can download those stuff, purchase those stuff, and they can integrate those into their games, right? So we are enterprise level integration providers as well. Also, we are an instructor, right? So we freely teach many computer game related tutorials, resources, and we conduct these sort of sessions to give the knowledge to the other developers, right? So that they can involve with the industry as well. Right, so we have released multiple mobile game titles and PC game titles, and these are some of the integration level integrators that we implemented, right? So these stuff actually make a very good revenue for us because developers can ease their development process, right? So they don't need to spend much more time to these features. Instead, they can simply integrate this system for their games and they can build it real quick, right? Also, like we have many tutorials freely available. So you can go and see our YouTube channel, SVR Games. So there we have conducted many tutorials. So hundreds of tutorials are there, which focused on the AAA game development, right? How you can develop a computer game from scratch, right? And obviously, how you can develop a game freely, right? Because all of those features are free. So how you can uh, minimize your development cost at the same time, how you can potentially maximize your revenue, right? So those are our core goals in those tutorials. So you can go and find this stuff at the YouTube, right? So not only us, there are many freely available resources are there. So you can discover those stuff and learn about game development. And currently we serve more than 100 customers around the world. So most of them are actually game development companies or like indie game developers, people like that, right? So they actually collaborate with us to create their computer games. We provide the tools, we provide the services, they create their games, we get the money, right? Something like that. So likewise, there are multiple different business models when it comes to game development industry. So I'm just mentioning you this stuff. Even in future, you guys can start your own startup, right? Who knows? Uh, Not only AI and ML is trending, focus on these features as well, right? Because money is everywhere, right? You just have to see the opportunities, right? Don't go only with the trends, right? Because trends will fall one day in real quick. Who knows, right? AGI is going to release real soon. Things will change, right? We'll see, right? So anyway, uh, computer game development is sort of like a safe industry in that scenario. Uh, Currently, okay, things may change in future, but I'm just saying there is a huge demand, huge opportunities there, which is uh, which has a really good potential, right? So you can even start your own startup, uh, computer game companies, whatever it is, and make a revenue, right? So obviously, if you guys are going to do such things, yeah, we can give it a boost as well, some knowledge as a knowledge partner, something like that. Okay, so currently we have a sort of a smaller team, like we are very indie sort of development company. So currently we have 5 to 6 engineers, which dedicate to create this subsystem and support our customers and things like that. So if you are interested in joining with us, actually we have 3 openings currently. These are internship roles. So you guys can join with us and get some hands-on experience, right? Right. So now we come to the end of the session. So if I brief like what we have been covered, actually I have to go sort of in speed because I had to lot to cover. And even if I went speed, I think the time is exceeded. But yeah. So if I brief like what we have been covered, we discuss about computer games, video game industry, and the GDLC, and how we can create a computer game by using a game engine, right? And what is the game engine, why we need it. Then we discuss about what are the available game engines, right? So we have Unity, we have Unreal Engine, we have Godot, and there actually we focused on Unreal Engine because it's entirely free, open source. All of those features are freely available there. And we discuss about what are the capabilities, how you can use those features to build your games, and what are the real world use cases, what are the games that has been developed, what are the other industries that uses Unreal Engine, what is the potential behind Unreal Engine, things like that. And then at the latter part, we discuss about how to become the part of video game industry, right? Uh, how you can learn this stuff, how you can potentially start your own career or your own company, right? Something like that. And then at last, we discuss about sort of a introduction about SVR Games, which is our own startup. And we discuss about like what are we doing there, right? Okay, so those are the sort of the brief about today's session. I know I shared maybe like many new terms to you guys, but uh, I think it will be really useful later on when you guys start uh, the game development related stuff if you are interested, right? Okay, I think that's it. And okay, we can go to the Q&A session. I'm sorry, like, are we exceeding the time too much, or like, what is the plan?
It's all right. It's all right. We
Oh,
can have the Q&A session and proceed. It's fine.
okay, okay, okay. Right. So I think there are few questions on the chat. Right. Right. So there is a question. First, yes. Right. So there is a question like there is a junior that who is interested on game development, but sort of he has a poor knowledge on programming. So how he can start it? Again, I'm saying, don't think your programming skills are poor, right? It's not like that. Even when we joined as undergraduates at QCSE, we had very less knowledge about the software development and all, right? But when you progress through with your academics, once you go to the second year, third year, even fourth year, something like that, gradually you will improve your programming skills, right? So don't think like you have a poor programming skill, right? Obviously, almost all of you have like a adequate amount of skills, right? Um, but how you can improve it? Well, academics can help you on the theoretical side, right? And some of the practical implementation. But other than that, maybe like 80% of the programming skills comes with your own exploration, right? So you have to uh, seek and do by yourself, right? And I don't think anyone can teach programming, right? You have to think and do. Anyone can teach the theoretical concept behind it, but when it comes to the real world implementation, you have to think, right? For example, in academics, people can teach you what is a binary tree, binary search tree. You can learn the theories, you can prepare for the exam, you can solve those questions at your paper and get a A plus, right? You are happy, but is it programming? No. Try and see whether you can write your own binary search tree, right? That's the programming part, not the paper, right? So anyway, you have to implement, you have to try out, right? Otherwise, academics only itself can't give those skills for you, so you have to discover, right? And yes, if you eager to learn or search about game development or eager to improve your performance about game development, I would recommend uh, to start with a game engine, right? Maybe Unity engine, maybe Godot, right? So those are like very lightweight engines which can develop lightweight computer games. So you can try developing one of those games, right? Using one of those engines, right? And even at YouTube, like there are tutorials, maybe like 1 hour or 2 hour to develop an entire game, right? It could be a small game, but still it's a game, right? So you will get the hands-on experience. So likewise, gradually you can go to the complex features. So at our YouTube channel at Elsewhere Games, actually we sort of teach the advanced concepts, right? To like using Unreal Engine, how you can build the triple A level industry quality game. Like, so there are like many advanced concepts that going to be covered. Maybe that could be heavy in this level, but still, if you are interested, you can follow up, right? It's not an impossible thing to do, right? So you have to dedicate yourself, right? A good question, right? And there's another question. Are that modules in fourth year? Any tips for going fourth year? Yeah, I think at fourth year, I'm not quite sure whether we have a game development related course module, because at UCSC usually the fourth year is uh, entirely research oriented, right? So you have to sort of focus on research stuff. So I'm not quite aware of the current curriculum, but I think uh, in fourth year we don't much focus on game development, but in third year we have. Yes, in the second year for IS, yes, it could be have these sort of sessions, right? Anyway, I'm just mentioning it's not about the first year, second year, third year, fourth year. At the UCSC curriculum, there are like course modules that is dedicated to game development. Obviously, we have computer game development course, and we have computer graphics 1 and 2, if I remembered properly. Plus AI and ML, again, really important. So likewise, the UCSC curriculum as an academic entity, it gives those courses, it offers those courses for you, right? So all you have to do is take those courses and learn, right? And the last question is of that following question, any tips for going fourth year? Fourth year is good. Generally speaking, like the main benefit of going fourth year is like you can get the hands-on research experience, like how you can research something and how you can uh, do something new by yourself, right? So that knowledge is really important, even at the industry is really important, because uh, it's not all about doing the stuff that other people did, right? You have to sort of contribute to the science. You have to sort of innovate things, right? So all of those knowledge and all of those tips and all of those uh, stuff covered at fourth year, right? Most scenarios, right? Because it's research oriented. But even if you are third year graduate, it doesn't mean you don't get those experience. You will get those stuff in near future, right? So yeah, going fourth year is a interesting thing, right? Right. Another question, right? How you can get a job as a game designer, not a programmer, or a story director after studying a technical course like CSIS? Yeah, good question. I think doing CSOIS is sort of like giving you the in-depth understanding about the industry, right? Like it's not only targeting you to become a software engineer. That is a misconception, actually, right? Many undergraduates, including me, actually, thought back in the days, CS and IS course modules support to get a job at software engineering, QA, business analyst, UI UX designer, something like that. But there are many other jobs that you can follow up, right? As I said before, like you said, the story director, the story designer, or 3D graphic developer. So those stuff are sort of like artistic, right? So you have to have sort of a unique skill to do those stuff. But yeah, even the academics directly doesn't support those job roles. If you have the credibility, if you have the skills, you can improve it, right? And yes, how you can get the job, obviously, that's the question. Well, you have to apply to the available job roles, right? So as I said before, in local context, we we may not have many jobs because we have very small amount of players in this industry at the local context. But in the global market, in the international market, we have very large opportunities, right? And they are not actually focusing on you come from their country or whatever the region that they are interested in. They just need skills, right? Because compared to the software engineering industry, game development is sort of like a complex area, right? So just because of you are a good software engineer, it doesn't mean you are a good game developer, something like that. So that talent is limited, right? So many companies are seeking for the talent. So if you have unique talent, you can apply for those stuff. And personally, I know some of the people who work even remotely and who even went to their countries and do the development related game stuff, who earns in millions, right? I'm not going to say the numbers, but I will say millions, right? So your focus should be that, right? Focus on the international market, not only the local context. In local context, we have good companies, right? They pay good amount of salary as well, but still in the outside we have other opportunities as well, right? And doing a CS and IS is a plus point, right? because many engineering fields are requiring these sort of academic qualities. Good question. Right. Another question. I noticed a decrease in movie VFX quality due to ML and generative AI usage. Will AI increasing roles also degrade video game quality? Considering tool like vibe coding for generated game assets, this will break the barrier to entry. What are your thoughts? Yeah, good question. So as I said before, time to time we have trends, right? So when the trend is happening, many people or the larger audience is focusing on that trend, right? Because it's the trend, right? So people are naturally go with the trend, right? So back in the days we had embedded system related trend, right? All of those electronics cool stuff, Arduino, Raspberry Pi, right? But are those that much trending right now? No, right? Why? Because that's saturated. And then we had the cloud computing era, right? All of those Google Cloud, Microsoft Azure, uh, I don't know, like many platforms were there for the cloud computing, right? And everybody, every engineer and every infrastructure developers were focusing on that field. Is it a trending field right now? It's sort of saturated. Still there, right? There's a great potential, saturated. How about AI? Trending these days. I'm not saying it's insignificant, right? It's a extremely good, extremely important technological field that we need. But with the time, it will saturate, right? So that's how trend usually goes. And the thing that you mentioned, uh, so since we are using the AI generated content, like it could be images, it could be 3D content, or even video content at the game, whether the quality of the games will degrade. I would say initially maybe it could happen, right? But with the time, these AI tools and LLM models and whatever the stuff that is being created are going to improve over time, right? So with the time, the quality will be there, right? And considering the quality, that's the issue, right? So once the quality reaches in a certain level, it will become the quality of the human design, right? Which is AGI, artificial general intelligence. That's the issue, right? So once it reaches to that position, entire industry will be affected, right? Not only the game development. In a way, actually, game development is secured because at the end, like it's an artistic product, no? But entire software engineering industry, entire uh, machine learning industry, entire AI field, all of those stuff will be replaced by AGI, right? That's the issue, right? So it's a sort of like an ethical concern currently have in the world, right? Uh, but I think things going to be changed, right? So once you guys are graduated, things will change, right? Even we are at the industry right now, within few years, industry will change, right? I can't exactly say what will happen. All I can say, AGI will be there. It will be in our potential, right? And after some years, it will go beyond our level. It will go to the ASI, artificial super intelligence. Who knows what will happen, right? Uh, but anyway, right? You guys doesn't have to be worried about those stuff, right? As I said before, trends will be saturated over time, right? Uh, it won't directly affect your career, right? I'm sort of wrong if I say it like that. It will directly affect your career, but it doesn't mean it will break you apart, right? It's not like that. You will get a job. You will earn a very good amount of salary. You will build your financial status accordingly. And those are fine. But it will be different what you've been imagined. That's what I'm saying, right? So even at the industry, currently we are working with AI. So we are sort of like pair programmers actually. Back in the days, there were developers who pair with us, but now we have AI modules, AI agents that pair with us. So we do the coding by collaborating with them, right? So I can't expose many details on that field because those are proprietary. Anyway, yes, considering the game development industry, it's somewhat similar. Whatever happens to the global context as an engineering field, it will be same for the game development as well, right? Right. So I will go through this last question. Otherwise, we will exceed more time. What are the requirements to join in your company for internships? Do we need to hand-on experience before? Yeah. So if you guys interested in joining our startup, I would say you should have sort of like a experience in game development tools, right? You don't need to be the very highly intellectual on that tools, but sort of understanding like what is Unreal Engine, what is Unity, right? Or if you are going to a 3D modeling job that we published, then how you can create a 3D model, right? What is Blend, right? How you can create a stylized asset, something like that, right? So you should have somewhat sort of idea, right? Otherwise, there is no starting point, right? So if you have sort of like a foundational knowledge, then you can join with us, right? So once you join, you can get the hands-on experience, like how we do those stuff in the real world, in the AAA context, as an industry, and you can improve yourself, right? So that's what all about our internships, similar to the other software engineering companies, right? Even when you are joining other software engineering companies, they will do sort of an interview to check your credibility, to check your knowledge, right? If you have that, you can join, right? And yeah, if you guys interested, actually, like you can join with us, right? Don't worry, right? You don't need to be a professional developer. Even you could be, right? But yes, anyone have the opportunity. Yeah, I think those are the questions. Yeah, I think we can wind up. Over to you.